What you were about to watch will disturb you. There is something that shatters our view of the universe. A telescope, James Webb. Does light come from stars? Is this assumption correct? It shows the past, billions of years back. But Webb saw something wrong. In the wrong place, or at the wrong time, maybe even in the wrong universe. Science, unfortunately, cannot explain this. Even worse, maybe it doesn't want to explain it. Now look carefully at the universe. There are billions of galaxies. These galaxies should not exist immediately after the universe was born, but they do. And if this is true, all the truths you know, or all the history we know, may be a lie. Get ready. The truth begins now. The year is 2022. The greatest mirror in human history was pointed into space, the James Webb Space Telescope. Its target was to capture the baby picture of the universe, the very beginning, the Big Bang. What scientists knew with absolute certainty was this: the first stars formed long after the Dark Ages. Galaxies came billions of years later. Everything formed slowly. But suddenly, Webb looked and threw logic into the trash. Because just 200 million years after the Big Bang, what appeared before us was unbelievable. Fully matured galaxies, enormous masses, centers filled with black holes. This was not something you would expect in a baby universe. This could only exist in a fully grown universe. Scientists slammed their desks in the middle of the night. It was hard to believe. This is impossible. This has to be a joke. Look, I just want you to think. Do you know what this means? It's like a 1-year-old baby winning a Nobel Prize. If this is real, the universe may have grown much faster than we thought. Or maybe there is another universe. Maybe even the Big Bang is not what we think it is. Is your mind confused? So is mine. But this is only the beginning. The real nightmare started with what they found inside these galaxies. I'll get to that shortly. Do you know something? While you're watching this video right now, maybe somewhere else, someone else is feeling the same fear. Because the universe may not be as big as we think. Because maybe we are being watched. I don't know. Who could know? James Webb took a closer look at those galaxies, and then something happened. The telescope quite literally went crazy, because at the centers of these galaxies that were born at the wrong time, there were gigantic black holes weighing billions of times more than the sun. But wait a second, this can't be. Impossible. Because for black holes like these to form, millions of stars must be born. Then they must die, explode, and their remnants must collapse. But the universe had just awakened. There was no time. How can a baby have a grandfather the moment it is born? This is the question James Webb forced us to ask. In this universe, something did not start from zero. Something was already ongoing. Could these be the remnants of a previous universe? Every black hole might be a doorway to something, and Webb noticed something else in the background of these doors. Take a deep breath. There may be another universe behind ours. Something may be watching us. Maybe we are in the wrong place. I will explain this to you shortly, but before that, let's go to a scene where science is capable of lying. In the meeting room, sounds like a red alert were echoing. This data, it's not repeating. It could be a camera malfunction. Let's ignore it. No one wants to accept the truth, because if Webb is right, what we call physics would collapse like a sandcastle. Because the age of the universe might be wrong. Maybe it's not 13.8 billion years, maybe it's much older. Or maybe we are living inside a system inherited from another universe. Remember this sentence. After the universe is born, rules are not written. Those who wrote the rules were here before. Scientists are living double lives right now. What they tell you, everything began with the Big Bang. What they secretly think, what if the Big Bang is just a repetition? Even as you're watching this video right now, you may be breathing inside rules left behind by an intelligence that arrived long before us and is far more powerful. Does that disturb you? Write in the comments, who started us? When James Webb analyzed the background light, it found something so strange it could drive us insane. I'll explain that shortly. James Webb's most critical mission was to measure the background glow of the universe. We call this the cosmic background radiation. That is the birth photograph of the universe. This light was supposed to tell us how the universe began, how fast it expanded, what we are made of. But when Webb measured this light, it found a pattern, a trace, a repetition, like a signature. This pattern looks very much like something in physics, a technological signal, as if someone else is talking in the background. Who were the ones speaking? Scientists panicked. This is an error, sensor noise, right? Please. But no, because that pattern is the same across the entire universe. Wherever you look, there is a hidden infrastructure, as if the universe is programmed. If we think of the universe as code, who could have written it and why? Stop for a moment and think. Look around you. Your phone, the table, your breath. All of it is only as real as these rules allow. You and I may be nothing more than initialized entities. But you know what? You are too intelligent to simply accept that. So am I. That's why we are here right now, watching this video. Others won't watch it. They will be afraid. When Webb looked beyond the light barrier, it saw an object that does not obey the laws of physics. I will show it shortly. For now, the only things I will say are, the universe's background not natural. Someone intervened, and we may have started in the wrong place. JWST also noticed something strange in the shapes of certain galaxies. These galaxies are extremely symmetrical, extremely orderly, almost as if they were designed. One scientist said, "These galaxies don't look like they formed randomly. It's as if someone placed them by hand." At this point, some researchers, risking their own careers, said this: if there was a civilization before us in the universe, they may have left behind their own cosmic signature, like a seal, to say, "We were here." Do you think we will one day be able to leave such a trace? But what if that civilization is still active? And what if we are not the only ones looking at James Webb? While James Webb was processing light data from certain regions, an engineer on the team left a note. Frame 214. Check this. There's a movement in the background. Movement? Are you talking about motion? In space, billions of light years away, in emptiness. Webb was observing a fixed target. Each frame should have been nearly identical. But in frame 214, a shadow was sliding. A camera malfunction? Possible. Pixel burn? Maybe. Coincidence? Extremely unlikely. Then the second frame, the third frame, the 10th frame, and the shadow was moving at the same speed. as if something conscious was moving behind the line. The science team spent 3 days trying to decode the footage, and finally, someone whispered, "This is not the shadow of an object. This is something geometric." Geometric, unnatural, a shape that cannot form on its own, a structure, a construction, something James Webb was never expected to find, something it was never supposed to find. As you are watching this right now, you may be seeing the shadows left behind by a completely different intelligence that lived billions of years before us. It sounds terrifying, but what is real is often frightening. When scientists realized this was not an error, they turned Webb toward the background of light. What they saw was an image that killed thought itself. Because behind the shadows, there was a point, a region that did not bend light. Everywhere in the universe emits light. Everything is affected by light in some way. But this region seemed to absorb light, yet it did not behave like a black hole. Physics could not explain it, and we could not find an answer for it either. Finally, one researcher said, "This place feels like we are being watched, as if someone is standing behind the light." A telescope cannot see behind light, but Webb found a void that did not look like a void. At this point, someone on the team took the data offline. Who it was is unknown, but this much we know. That data was never released to the public again. Some of that data leaked onto the internet. I will go into the explanation of the leaked images shortly, but first, if you're sitting comfortably right now, lean back a little, because the light barrier discovered by JWST suggests that even the expansion of the universe could be theoretically wrong. If there is a lightless region at the edge of the universe, this means the universe may not be infinite. The universe could be a closed system. The universe might be a capsule. Maybe someone is outside this capsule. Maybe not a simulation, but a design. We noticed it by accident. Webb was not supposed to look, but it did. If the universe is a capsule, who are we inside of? The records of the anomaly detected by JWST behind the light barrier were never officially released. But at the end of 2023, a 14-second screen recording captured from NASA's internal messaging channel appeared on the internet. The video was very low resolution, but those 14 seconds explain why the video you're watching right now exists. Because at the 4th second of the footage, the light in the background stands still. Everything is frozen. Deep space is calm. Then, a shape moves upward from behind. Not slow, but not fast either, as if the movement were intentional, measured. Even stranger, it has a clear edge. It looks like half of a triangle, but it's not natural. It does not interact with starlight, and it does not obey the laws of physics. And one researcher colorized the image and made this comment: "This is not an object. This is a shadow, but the source of the shadow is behind the light." There is no equation in physics that explains this. As you are listening to these lines right now, maybe at the farthest point of the universe, something is watching what we are doing here. If this disturbs you, be sure of this: that feeling is a natural part of being human. After the leaked footage, people sent questions to NASA. The response? There is no data record. That is not a scientific explanation. It's a political one. Because the truth is this: if the footage were not real, NASA wouldn't spend even a minute addressing it. Because in science, the phrase, "we have no record of it," usually means this: It exists, but we can't explain it. Some astronomers from the JWST team shut down their Twitter and X accounts. Some remained silent. Others said it wouldn't be appropriate for me to talk about this. But one person, whose name was not revealed, wrote the following in chat logs. "This thing may not exist in the same universe as light." Think about that. What does that even mean?
At this point, there are only three possibilities. 1. There is a structure at the edge of the universe that exists outside the laws of physics. 2. JWST has brushed against the trace of another universe. 3. The universe did not begin the way we think it did, and these traces are the remnants of a civilization that came before us. Each one is terrifying on its own. But what if all three are true at the same time? Then this video may be nothing more than the opening chapter of a much greater truth. But then, what was that thing? What was the shadow in the leaked footage the shadow of? Did JWST see it again? In the next episode, I will answer exactly that.
After the leaked footage surfaced, two scientists, their identities kept secret, tried to extract the movement model of the shadow. Because a shadow moving with such precision is almost impossible in nature. And right here, even I stopped and held my breath when I first saw it. What the model revealed, the shadow, was not moving randomly, was not affected by light pressure, was independent even of cosmic expansion. It was moving as if within a different coordinate system. Yes, a different coordinate system. And according to the model output, the form of the shadow was not a symmetrical triangle, but a cross-section of a structure that resembles a triangle. Moreover, its edges were mathematically perfect. There is nothing like this in nature. It cannot be a rock, it cannot be dust, it cannot be a particle. This is something that was made. The source of the shadow was most likely planar, sharp-edged, probably a metallic surface, but a structure that moves independently of physical laws. One of the researchers looked at the model and said only this: "This is not natural. Someone designed this."
When they looked at the direction of the shadow's movement, something interesting was noticed. The shadow was not moving towards James Webb, nor was it moving away. The shadow was moving parallel to the direction Webb was observing. In other words, it was as if it were accompanying the telescope's line of sight. In a sense, wherever Webb looked, the shadow flowed in the same direction. This cannot be a coincidence. This is not an error either. This is something else. One member of the research team reportedly said, "It's as if it noticed us. Wherever we look, it looks there too." That sentence sends a chill through you. Did JWST see the same shadow again? This was the most frequently asked question on the internet. The answer, officially, no. But unofficially, yes. With very high probability, yes. Because in mid-2024, it was noticed that the same coordinate system settings were repeated in JWST's observation revision list, again and again and again. One team was examining only that region to find the shadow, to confirm it, but nothing was published. And this always means one thing. They found something, but it was too strange to release to the public. What could this thing be? An entity that does not belong to our universe? An extremely ancient technology? Or a sign of a boundary? Some independent astrophysicists who examined the leaked James Webb data put forward a very risky hypothesis. This hypothesis is so extreme that even those who mention it begin with, "Don't take this seriously, but we will take it seriously, because all the pieces point to it." The hypothesis is this: the edge of the universe is not natural, it is constructed. Yes, you heard that right. Not a continent, not a border, not a membrane, a structure. Not like a simulation frame, but more like a physical cage, a shell, a container, like the wall of a laboratory vessel. And the most frightening part? The shadow detected by Webb may be the movement of something on the inner surface of this structure. Think about it. The universe may not be expanding. We may be simply spreading inside a finite structure. What lies beyond this boundary is not ours, and that shadow may be the trace of something outside this structure. One researcher reportedly said, "The universe is not a building, of course, but if the Big Bang was the opening of a door, then who opened the door?" When the shadow's movement model was analyzed again, something extremely strange was noticed. The shadow did not curve. No known object in nature can follow a perfectly straight path independent of all forces, but this one did. Only two possibilities remained. One, the shadow is the movement of an entity outside the laws of physics. Two, the shadow is the projection of a structure outside the laws of physics. One physicist on the team said, "If this is an entity, it is large enough to exceed our definition of matter. If this is a structure, then we are misunderstanding the universe. And worse, this shadow was not moving towards us. We are moving towards it. Because as the universe expands, we are spreading towards that structure we call a boundary. Maybe that's why the shadow appears stationary. In reality, we are the ones moving."
What might this structure be used for? Astrophysicists have three possibilities. 1. Protection. The universe may have been isolated to protect it from a catastrophe, like placing a biological sample inside a sterile container. 2. Observation. We may be an experiment. Our development may be under observation. It sounds terrifying, but science does things like this. Maybe we are test subjects of a greater intelligence. 3. Containment. This is the darkest theory. The universe may have been placed inside a cage to prevent it from destroying itself, and the shadow may belong to someone outside the cage. So when was this structure built? Did it form at the same time as the universe, or did it exist before us? While James Webb was processing deep field images, it noticed an inconsistency in the redshift values of light in a certain region. Normally, redshift tells us how far away an object is, how old the light is, how much the universe has expanded. But the signal measured by JWST appeared to be older than the Big Bang. Yes, older. We say the Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago, right? But this light behaved as if it were from 14.5 billion years ago. Think about that. That is a signal 700 million years older than the birth of the universe. At first, scientists said this was impossible, a device error. Then they said it was a calculation mistake. Then they said, let's forget the data. But the real problem is this. This light is not coming from just one point. In that region of the universe, the same inconsistency appears at multiple locations, which means the trace of that structure may be far older than the universe itself. That leaves us with two possibilities. 1. Our universe was born inside another universe. 2. The structure we call the shell of our universe existed before the Big Bang. That second possibility shatters the mind, because it means this. The Big Bang was not a beginning. It may have been an activation, an opening, a startup. In other words, the universe was switched on. It sounds insane, I know, but right now, JWST's data is pointing exactly to this. So, where was that shadow within the universe? According to analyses by the JWST teams, it was close to the inner surface of the large structural boundary. It was moving in parallel with the expansion of the universe. It did not bend light. It was not a black hole. It was not matter. It did not emit energy, yet it maintained its position. And its position formed an interesting pattern. As the expanding shell of the universe grows, the shadow shifts only by the curvature of that shell, which means this: the shadow is something fixed. We are the ones moving. And the moment scientists realized this, one word slipped out of someone's mouth. This could be something mounted on the outside, as if it were standing on the outer wall of the universe, but casting a shadow inward, like a window, like a hatch, like an observation glass. While JWST's leaked shadow movement data was being simulated in a physics laboratory, something very strange happened. The shadow, while moving, suddenly stops. But the stop is not random. A 0.4-second freeze. Then it continues in the same direction. 13 seconds later, another brief stop. Then it continues again. And these pauses do not fit any physical model. According to one scientist, a particle cannot stop like this. A structure cannot stop like this. But a decision can. Think about that sentence. A decision. As if the shadow, every 13 seconds, was checking its direction of movement. Not like a living creature, not like a consciousness, more like a watcher. The model revealed something even more intriguing. The moments when the shadow stopped were almost simultaneous with JWST's camera movements. When Webb rotated the camera, the shadow stopped at a micro level. When Webb changed focus, the shadow stopped again. Do you know what this means? The shadow may be positioning itself in response to our movement, just like something adjusting itself to avoid being caught on camera. One member of the team said this was not a passive object, it noticed us. At this point, the team quietly removed the shadow from the official documents. The name of the person who did this does not appear in the records, but one team member leaked this. This is not just a shadow. This is a reaction. After the analysis of the shadow's pauses, a long silence filled the laboratory. Finally, someone spoke. Something that reacts like this is either alive or was created by something alive. Another person's response was even more terrifying. Or maybe a mechanism outside the universe is intervening from the inside. Then everyone at the table thought of the same thing. If this is an entity, why did it stop now? If this is a mechanism, what is it controlling? If this is an observer, why is it watching us? And most importantly, did these pauses begin when we started asking questions? While the laboratory team continued analyzing the shadow's pauses, an idea came to mind. What if these pauses are not random? What if they are synchronized with events in the history of the universe? It sounded like a joke, but when they calculated it, the intervals of the pauses matched with astonishing accuracy the greatest events in cosmic history. For example, the formation of the first stars, the condensation of the first galaxies, the era of reionization, the emergence of vast dark voids, threshold explosions of certain supernovae, black hole mergers. During every major cosmic event period, the model showed the shadow's movement delaying at a micro level, which means the shadow waits when something major happens in the universe. as if whenever something important occurs in the universe, a controlling system says, "Wait a moment, let's see what's happening." At this point, scientists panicked because this was the first indication that a mechanism outside the universe was responding to developments inside the universe. Among all the pauses, one was far longer than the others. This pause lasted a full 0.9 seconds. This stop coincided with one of the greatest turning points in the universe, the time window when the first conscious life emerged. How did they calculate this? Retrospective biocosmic models show that the emergence of consciousness, roughly, dates back to about 10 billion years ago. And for that exact period, the simulated shadow movement stops. Why did it stop? One physicist commented, "Maybe when consciousness emerged, the system performed an evaluation." What does that mean? Something observing from outside the universe may have noticed consciousness and paused for a moment. This is one of the most unsettling ideas humanity has ever encountered. The team was now asking themselves this question: did the shadow pause at the emergence of humanity? They fast-forwarded the simulation. The results shocked everyone. The shadow, over the last 100,000 years, showed a tiny but consistent pattern. A 0.03-second pause, then movement. 0.03 seconds, then movement again. What does this mean? This detail on a cosmic scale is as small as a whisper, but it exists. And which period does it correspond to? The emergence of Homo sapiens. The shadow showed a small interruption at the edge of the universe exactly when we appeared. One researcher said, maybe it noticed us. But the real bad news isn't this. As the laboratory team examined the shadow's pauses throughout the history of the universe, they noticed a break in the graph. Or rather, something was hidden in the graph. A data point that shouldn't have been there. The last pause. The timestamp? 2023. Yes, throughout 14 billion years of cosmic history, the shadow, which had only paused at key breaking points, paused one final time. And this pause coincided with the period when James Webb began its work. One researcher said, "This is almost exactly the same moment the device was powered on. It's as if someone woke up." So what happened in 2023? JWST focused for the first time on the deepest regions of the universe, the structure we call the edge. And at that moment, the shadow paused for 0.12 seconds. This is 4 times longer than the previous minor pauses. Why? The analysis made by the team was very simple. JWST looked at the deepest point of the universe. It began to process the image. At that very moment, the shadow halted its movement, as if it realized it was being observed. According to one researcher, this was like a mutual moment. We looked at it, and it noticed. Another researcher said, "This is not the behavior of an object, it's the behavior of an eye." This statement caused a freezing silence in the laboratory. The team analyzing the pauses proposed 3 theories. 1, the shadow responded consciously, the most terrifying possibility, as if it was saying, "You saw me." 2, the shadow is a control signal of a mechanism. A system outside the universe might be performing a brief check whenever an observation starts inside. 3, the shadow is a warning system. Perhaps it's an automatic mechanism that activates when we get too close to the edge of the universe. And the most chilling part? The shadow paused in 2023, but it never resumed its previous speed. Its movement after 2023, slower, more cautious, lower in frequency, as if it were thinking.
The team continued analyzing the shadow throughout 2024. During the analyses, something extremely critical was discovered. For the first time, even at a micro scale, the shadow changed direction. For the first time. For nearly 14 billion years, the shadow had been moving along an almost fixed line. In 2024, it turned its trajectory toward us. This was not a massive turn, but it was like a tracking movement. The only sentence that came out of most researchers' mouths, it chose us.
The team that noticed the shadow's micro-scale change in direction in 2024 reported it to senior authorities. Normally, this kind of data would be added to the scientific archive, but this time, it wasn't. The first response was short and decisive. Classify this data. In government language, this means no public disclosure, no press, no archival upload, no sharing, and no team changes. And immediately afterward, a second order arrived: limit JWST's deep field focusing. In other words, Webb was forbidden from looking at the edge of the universe. The scientists who heard this were shocked. The most advanced observatory, prepared over 20 years, was now forbidden from observing the universe's most critical region. Why? The answer was hidden in the third directive: stop monitoring the shadow's movement pattern. Think about it. The moment that thing moving at the edge of the universe began turning towards us, observation was cut off. The team that noticed the shadow's micro-scale change in direction in 2024 reported it to senior authorities. Normally, this kind of data would be added to the scientific archive, but this time, it wasn't. The first response was short and decisive. Classify this data. In government language, this means no public disclosure, no press, no archival upload, no sharing, no team changes. And immediately afterward, a second order arrived: limit JWST's deep field focusing. In other words, Webb was forbidden from looking at the edge of the universe. The scientists who heard this were shocked. The most advanced observatory, prepared over 20 years, was now forbidden from observing the universe's most critical region. Why? The answer was hidden in the third directive: stop monitoring the shadow's movement pattern. Think about it. The moment that thing moving at the edge of the universe began turning towards us, observation was cut off. Why? In the final directive, the JWST team received a statement. This statement had never been seen before in the history of science. Unknown activity may have triggered an observer effect. The observer effect normally applies in quantum physics, but here it was applied to the entire scale of the universe. This sentence means because we were observing, that thing may have reacted. Because of this statement, Webb's Deep Field Observation Program was officially canceled. And the real breaking point: while scientists were discussing this, the team received another warning. Do not communicate about this matter. Why? A few days after the shutdown directive, one member of the team, the engineer known as Operator 14, did not come to work. He was called. He couldn't be reached. He wasn't at his home. He wasn't in the archives. He hadn't informed anyone. And what was even more terrifying, his username had been completely erased from the system logs, as if he had never existed. But one person, late at night, in a back directory of the satellite communication server, found a hidden audio recording left by the operator. The recording was only 18 seconds long, and its name was J14.last.wave. The audio is distorted, buzzing, almost like a whisper, but some words are clear. In the first second of the recording, the operator's breathing is audible, hectic, panicked. Then, a trembling voice. "Webb looked at the wrong thing." In the background, a low-frequency hum, as if something distant but immense is moving. The operator continues. "We thought we were watching it, but it knew from the very first moment." The panic in the recording escalates. A metallic clatter, maybe a door, maybe equipment. Then, "Whoever is listening to me, it's not the shadow. The shadow is like the shadow of the shadow." The sentence cuts off midway. 2 seconds of silence. And then comes the most shattering part of the recording. At the 15th second of the recording, the operator whispers in an extremely low voice, almost rasping from their throat, "It is looking inside." And at that exact moment, a distant, deep vibration is heard. Not a human voice, not a computer sound, not the wind, not electronic. This vibration seems like a response completing the word. In the final second of the recording, the operator says, "It learned to look inside." And then the recording ends abruptly. The authorities closed the file, claiming that the audio recording was misleading. But among scientists, a theory has been spreading quietly. The shadow is no longer passive. We may be the ones under observation. Webb may have looked too closely. There's even an unrecorded remark from an astrophysicist. The shadow wasn't collecting data, it recognized us. That would be a sentence capable of changing the history of the universe. After Operator 14 disappeared, the team ran the 2025 simulation one last time, the model designed to estimate the shadow's movement speed. Under normal conditions, this simulation was nothing special, just standard software meant to project the shadow's future position. But this time, something that had never been seen before happened. When the model reached the year 2025, the shadow stopped moving entirely, completely. That thing, which had never fully stopped over 14 billion years, was now frozen in the 2025 projection. In the simulation, the stop point was marked with a flashing red indicator. The label read, ".000 motion threshold reached," meaning motion threshold reduced to 0. The scientists were stunned. The simulation specialist said, "This is technically impossible. Only one thing could trigger a stop like this, a direct trigger." In other words, the shadow didn't stop on its own. Something stopped it. But what? When they zoomed in on the shadow's 0 motion point in the simulation, they saw the entire screen become covered by a dark pattern. This was not an image, not a data error, not light interference. It was a shape never defined in the model, yet consistent with the shadow's past movement behavior. When the shadow stopped in 2025, this form appeared in the background. A half circle, 2 small dots inside it, a curved line-like shape beneath. One scientist looked at the shape and said only one thing. "This looks like a face. More precisely, a profile." What kind of profile? Unknown, but the simulation output seemed to whisper something. When the shadow becomes motionless, a form appears, as if the act of stopping itself were a kind of identity. As the simulation approached the 0 point, the software returned an error, unrecognized observer. This error had never appeared before. One software engineer said, "The model detected an observer outside of us." Another specialist added, "Then this isn't a simulation we're running." Then a second error appeared on the screen. "Do you want to grant access?" No one touched the keyboard. No one clicked anything, but the system answered on its own. Access granted. In that moment, the laboratory froze. Who granted the access? As the simulation collapsed, the data fragment that appeared on the screen for 3 seconds was perhaps the strangest output in the laboratory's history. The coordinate looked like this. Alpha equals 03 hours, 27 minutes. Delta equals plus 21 degrees. Next to it, a single word, surface. According to the team, this coordinate pointed to a region only a few light minutes away from Earth, meaning that the shadow coming from the edge of the universe, as the motion prediction model collapsed, had pointed to the closest possible location to us. One engineer said, "It wasn't looking at us, it was moving toward us." The other's reply was even worse. No, it was already close. Just before the shutdown directive, the final frame captured by JWST never appeared in any official archive. But one team member managed to copy the raw data from the image processing server. That frame showed a region far brighter than anything in the deep field of the universe. The brightness wasn't normal, not a star, not a galaxy, not a burst of light. In the left corner of the image, there was a very faint, barely discernible shape. The human eye wouldn't notice it at first glance, but when the contrast was increased, this became clear. A linear curve, a dark area beneath it, 2 point-light concentrations above the curve, a profile that perfectly matched the slope of the dark shadow, meaning the face-like form that the model showed for 2025 was actually visible, however faintly, in Webb's final image. One researcher whispered, "This isn't light coming from the outside, it's a shadow forming on the inside." In the final paragraph of the shutdown directive, there is a single sentence. It wasn't made public, it wasn't shared with the press, it didn't enter the archives, but one member of the team whispered that they remembered it. "The shadow is no longer stationary. Do not give it a name." Why? Because if you give something a name, you categorize it, you define it, you claim it, and maybe that thing can hear you. Perhaps the shadow at the edge of the universe records every reaction we give into its own algorithm. Maybe that's why Webb was shut down. Maybe that's why the last page contained this sentence, "You are being watched." We thought we were looking at the universe, but maybe the universe has been looking at us from the very beginning. And JWST, for the first time, reflected that gaze back. That's why it was noticed. That's why it stopped. That's why it moved closer. And maybe now, it isn't taking its eyes off us.